Hi scientists, so we are going to break down graphs today. These are the three types of graphs we will use this year. So we're going to use bar graphs. We might a few times use line graphs. And every once in a while when they are appropriate, we will use pie charts. But let's think about and look at when their purposes change. We're going to start with the bar graph. The purpose of a bar graph is to compare and contrast data. In all of the experiments we've done so far, that's what we've been doing. We've been looking at how are our 2 or 3 variables different or the same. And so when we use our bar graphs, there's some things we need to make sure we get in our graph every single time. Number 1, first, do it first or you'll forget it, the title. I should be able to go to a graph and skip the rest of your lab and know exactly what your results were, why you did it, what the purpose was, and I shouldn't have to read your data table or anything else. Tell me what the point of your experiment was in that title. The second thing I need to include is my independent variable. That's going to go on the x-axis. Think of an x as being a long, it stretches out. It's going to be that bottom, stretched out portion of your data, I'm sorry, not your data table, your graph. And so it is going to go on the bottom. Not only do I title it, I list my separate categories from my independent variable. Up along the y-axis, think of that y as being tall and strong. That's where I'm going to put my dependent variable. What did I measure? What were my results? We have to break it down on a scale from our smallest number all the way up to our biggest number. But remember to always start at 0. So again, not only do I put the titles, but I have to put what were the result numbers and what were the categories included. And finally, the part that feels the easiest is the bars. The one thing we want to make sure we do so that we are always accurate, include your number above your bar. We're human, we can't always draw perfect lines, especially notability, that's new to us. Put your number above your bars so that we always, again, don't have to go back to the data table, but we can see exactly what your results were. So there's our bar graph, the one we're going to use the most to compare and contrast data. Moving on to the line graph. The purpose of our line graph is to show change over time. Really, the only difference in this is that on our y-axis, we're still going to be, again, putting our dependent variable. But this time on a line graph, our independent variable is going to be our data points. Along the bottom, we're showing that change in time. So the independent variable now changes to just simply the data, and the x-axis is going to show that change. So whether it be days, minutes, hours, years, whatever your measurement is. We get to put our data points in a simple plot point comparing how long it was and how either big or tall or whatever your data is showing became. And my favorite part, we get to connect the dots on here. So if you have more than one variable, make sure to include a key. If you only have one variable, just list it off to the side. That works too. So line graphs again, showing change over time. We won't do that much this year, but you'll use this later on in future sciences. Our last one, pie charts, are used to compare percentages. Now yes, could we use this for comparing and contrasting quite a few different variables? Absolutely. But if it doesn't make sense to show it out of 100%, don't use it. On here, the slices are going to show our data, obviously. We're still going to include that title like both of our other graphs. Again, do it first or you'll forget it, I promise. And this one, when we're looking at it, both of our independent and dependent variables show up in the data table. So you kind of have to look at both when you're reading a pie chart. The data table will show your independent variable and your results. Only your dependent variable is sometimes going to be very visible in the graph. So we don't use these a lot. This might pop up once or twice this year. We'll be reading it more than actually creating it. So most often, look for your bar graph. That's what we'll be using. And look for these charts in Schoology right now. Download them into Notability and use the cheat sheets for the rest of the year. Okay, good luck on your assignment. Go find it now in Schoology.